Question 1 says, what is the value of the underlined digit? Give me a number. One of the digits is underlined. The good thing they did here, the nice thing they did here, was they wrote my number nice and big, so I can actually draw my place value chart around it. I'm just going to draw lines between my numbers, and I'm going to label my place values. There's no decimal. I'm going to start with the ones place here. What's the place value next to the ones place? Going up my place value chart, if I'm going to bigger place values, what's the place value that is bigger than the ones place? One that comes right after it. What place value is that, Bailey?
Could you please repeat the question?
Sure. What's the next place value? This one that's bigger than the ones right next to it.
Tens.
The tens. Okay. And who can tell me?
Today my microphone doesn't want to work.
Doesn't want to work?
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. After the tens, what's the next place value? One right next to the tens. A little bit bigger, 10 times bigger. What's next? Alexa?
Thousands.
Not quite. We're skipping ahead a little bit. We have ones,
Hundred.
tens, hundreds. Okay. The ones, tens, hundreds. What would go after the hundred? What's that next bigger place value? Kylie?
Thousands.
Thousands. After the thousands, Ezekiel, what would be the next one?
10,000s.
10,000s. Very good. After the 10,000s, what would come next? Kylie?
100,000.
100,000. And the last one, we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000. Bradley?
Millions.
The millions. Okay. And they're focused on this digit, the underlined digit. I see that my underlined digit is a 4. Who can tell me what place value is that 4 in? What place value is the 4 in? Violet?
Huh?
What place value is my 4 in?
And the 10,000s.
In the 10,000s. So its value is not just 4, it's 4 10,000 or 40,000. I'm going to start with the 4, but it's not just a regular everyday 4. It's a 4 in the 10,000s. So its value would be 40,000. I could also write 4 times 10,000. And you might see it either way. It just depends on how they want to show it to us. Might put 40,000. They might put 4 times 10,000. Okay, number 2. Write the number below in standard form. We had one like this yesterday. They give us the number in expanded form, where they've broken it apart using the different place values, and all we're doing is putting it back together. I can see that they have a couple of different place values here. I can see the smallest one goes down to my decimals. I can see that the biggest one goes all the way to 10 million. That's quite a lot here. I'm going to use my place value chart from up here to help me make my place value chart down here. It goes a little bit above, but just one place value. We have 10 million. Then million. After the million, we put 100,000. And 10,000. 1,000. 100. 10. Then 1. And here's where our decimals come in. What is the first decimal place value? Jaylene, what's the first decimal place value? What would it be, Jaylene?
What was the question again?
What's the first decimal place value? Here's the ones place. What's this place value called? Do you need some help, Jaylene?
Yeah.
Okay, who can help her out? What's the first decimal place value? Jadine.
Dimes. But also, I lost my skills packet. I looked through my whole packet.
Okay, check one more time. Be very look very carefully because sometimes the staples make things stick together. But you're close. We write the word dimes on top of it, but it's not the dimes place. What do we call it?
0.1.
We put that on top of it too. You have the reminders. What's the place value? Violet, do you remember? The 10th place. And I always write that one lowercase just to remind myself these are decimals. These are little bitty numbers. So, Jaylene, what's the name of this place value? This first decimal place value? What did we call it? Jaylene might be frozen. I'll ask her again later. Who can tell me? What about the next one? Because I do need one more decimal place value. What's the next decimal place value? Kylie?
Are you talking about like the things where you do at the top when you do 0.01 and pennies?
That is the one. Those are the reminders I always write. But what's the place value called?
The hundredths.
The hundredths. Very good. And again, I write that one lowercase just to remind myself these are little itty bitty numbers. They're not whole numbers. Okay. Now that I have my place value chart drawn, it's nice and empty, which means it's ready for me to use. I'm going to take a look at what they've told me, and I'm going to put the numbers where they're telling me to put them, where they belong. 3 times 10 million. Well, that tells me there's a 3, and it goes into the 10 millions place. I'm going to put a check mark there. I've already added that number to my place value chart. Next one says 6 times 1 million. Telling me there's a 6 and that it goes into the millions place. Put a 6 there. Oh, I almost forgot something very important. I put the decimal on my place value chart, but I forgot to put my commas. Let me make sure I add those. Okay, now I can continue. 2 times 100,000. So there's a 2, and I should put it in the 100,000s place. 9 times 1,000. There's a 9, and I need to put it in the thousands place. But what happened here? I went from the 100,000s to the thousands place, and I didn't skip anything. There's nothing that I missed. So what do I do about this blank spot? I can't just leave it blank. Alexa, what do I have to do about it?
Put a 0.
Put a 0 in that blank space. Okay, now I can continue because I don't have any to worry about here. 8 times 100. So there's an 8 and it goes into the 100 place. 5 times 10. 5 and it goes into the tens place. 7 times 1. 7 and it goes into the ones place. 2 times 0.01. Okay, so I know the 2 goes into one of my decimal places, but what decimal place value does the 2 belong in? Kylie, which one does it belong in? Does it belong in the 10th or the 100th?
It belongs in the hundredths.
In the 100th. So there's a 2 here. But again, I have a blank spot and I didn't miss anything. I didn't skip anything. So what do I do about that blank spot? Kylie, what should I do about the blank spot?
You should put a 0.
I should put a 0. So, Jaylene, what do we call this first decimal place value again?
Dimes.
Not dimes. It's not the name of the place value. It's right here. It's not the
Oh,
100th. It's what?
The 10,000.
Not 10,000s. How many dimes does it take to make $1, Jaylene? All I had was dimes. How many dimes would I need to make $1? Let's pretend I'm counting dimes. If I had 1 dime, it's 10 cents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to pretend like I just find a bunch of dimes, okay? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, I got to use my other hand now. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. When I get to 100, that's when I get my $1. So how many dimes did I need to make that $1?
10.
10. So this first decimal place is a 10th. We have the 10th first, then afterwards we have the 100th, because the hundredths are like the pennies. If all I had was pennies and I had to count them, how many pennies does it take to make $1? I'd be here for a while because it would take me 100 pennies. So dimes comes first. Those are the 10th place. And the pennies are the 100th place. Remember, I just write these to remind myself. Tenths are like my dimes. It takes 10 of them. Hundredths are like my pennies because it takes 100. All right. Number 3, write the numeral 6,432,708 in expanded notation. All right, so this is basically just the opposite of problem number 2. They want us to take this number, they want us to write it in expanded notation. So break it apart using our place values. I'm going to start off by just putting it into a place value chart. Again, I can use this one that I made for number 2 to kind of help me out. I can see I don't need the decimal places, so that's going to make it a little bit simpler. And I don't have to go up quite as far as I did. So it goes from millions, comma, 100,000, 10,000, 1,000, comma, hundreds, tens, ones. I'm going to copy my number, make sure I line it up using my commas. 6, comma, 4, 3, 2, comma, 7, 0. Now all I have to do is use those place values and kind of break up my number. Every place value is going to be its own part. The first part would be 6 million, just like they showed me up here. I start off with the number, whatever digit is here, so 6 times, this is where I put the place value, 1 million. 6 times 1 million How do I show that there's still more to my number? How do I show that there's other pieces that I haven't written down yet? How did they show me up here? What do I see between all these little pieces of my number? What did they put there? Noah? What did they put?
What was the
What do they put between the pieces of my number to show that there's more than just one piece of this number? Look at number 2. How did they show me there was more than just this piece? How did they show me that these two pieces belong together? And that the next two pieces belong together? And the next two, and the next two.
Wasn't that called like decimals or something?
That number had decimals. But look at just these first two parts, Noah. How do I know that these two parts belong to the same number? What did they put in the middle to let me know that those two parts go together? What did they put here in the middle, Noah? What's this thing?
That's a plus sign.
It's a plus sign. They put a plus sign in between the parts of my number to let me know that I need to put that these parts are actually all to the same number, that they all go back together. Then I can put the next part. What's the next digit that I should have in my expanded notation? After I did the 6, what digit comes next? What's the next number? Ezekiel, what's the next number?
hundred uh hundred thousands
Okay, and what number is in the hundred thousands place?
a 4.
A 4. 4 times 100,000. Then I have to put a plus sign because there's still more parts that I need to put together. What number comes next in my expanded notation? I did the 6, I did the 4. So what's up next? What would be next, Bailey?
Did you call me?
Mm-hmm.
What was the question again?
What number comes next in my expanded notation? I did the 6 and I did the
What
4.
was the question again?
What number comes next in my expanded notation? I did the 6 and did the 4. What number is next?
Three times 10,000.
3 times 10,000. Right, so there's the next part. Still have more to my number, so I put another plus sign to show that there's still more. What number would come next? I did the 6, did the 4, did the 3. Kylie, what would be next?
2 times 1,000.
2 times 1,000. There's still more. Put another plus sign. After the 2, what number would come next? Ezekiel.
Hundreds.
Okay, and what digit is in the hundreds?
7.
7. 7 times 100. And I'm just going to write it down here because otherwise I won't have enough room to finish it. Plus, okay, what number or what digit comes after the 7? Kylie?
We can't do the tens because it has a 0, so we have to go to the ones.
Very good. Anytime I do expanded notation, if I see a 0, I skip it. So I go down to the ones, and what digit is in the ones place?
8 times 1.
8 times 1. I don't have to put any more plus signs because there's no other parts to my number. So here it is in expanded notation.